Peláez, and I would like to welcome all of you to our today's debate. It's an honor for Lex Latin to present this debate in a strategic alliance with vLex. Today, we have a very impressive group of panelists, including an excellent keynote speaker. As you know, the title of our debate today is Artificial Intelligence or Die. A scary title, but very likely is the truth. How forward-thinking legal teams are gaining the edge. We are going to discuss this subject, and as I said, Ed is going to give us a presentation, a keynote presentation, and then as soon as Ed finishes his presentation, the panelists will give their personal remarks on the subject that we are discussing today. Number one, we have a simultaneous interpretation. So if you want to follow the discussion in Spanish, just go to the globe under interpretation, and then you can listen to the discussion in your preferred language. Second, please feel free to raise any question that you may have at the time that you want to raise the question. We will be handling questions and we will be managing the questions during the whole presentation. And we would like very much if you can leave in the chat where are you joining from us, that is to say, which is your jurisdiction, where are you based. So with any further delay, I would like to introduce, as I said, the excellent group of participants, our keynote speaker, Ed Walter, that is Chief Strategy Officer at vLex. Among our panelists, we have Andrés Jara, that is the founder and director of Ulster Law in Chile. As well, Denise Guillén Lara. Denise is partner office general counsel at KMPG in Mexico City. Pepe Torrello is the chair Mexican chapter of CLOC, but also is the founder of Red Firmas. And last but not least, we have Sara Molina Pérez-Tomé. Sara is the partner in charge of innovation and transformation at Pérez-Llorca in Spain. To all of you, thank you very much for accepting the invitation and joining us in a fascinating subject that we continue discussing and we continue learning every day on the impact and the importance that it has for all those that have changed the chip, changed their attitude, and are working on implementing artificial intelligence in their practices. So, Ed, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fernando. Would you like opening remarks, or may I begin?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, thank you very much. So I'm very excited to join this debate today with these esteemed panelists. I want to start by talking about AI in specific, not in general. I'm a big fan of artificial intelligence, but I don't like magical thinking about it. I like to think about it concretely. And just for starters, when we talk about artificial intelligence, what are we talking about? I think for many of us, we think of the general models like ChatGPT. And I want to encourage us to think about ChatGPT, but let's think also about the legal specific tools. The big difference between the two is that ChatGPT is a large language model. It is designed to predict what the most likely next word is going to be to make sentences that look very plausible. So the idea is not to have a truth engine. ChatGPT is not trying to come up with answers that are true. It is trying to come up with answers that are statistically likely. And I think many of us know now these statistically likely answers are averages, and they may end up with hallucinations. Hallucinations being a statistically likely name of a case or name of a statute that in fact does not exist at all. It is a likely predicted next word, but these general AI models are not looking at a database and returning answers. And that's the difference with the legal specific models. And here I'm thinking of like Vincent from vLex, or CoCounsel from Thomson Reuters, or Lexis Plus AI from LexisNexis. These legal specific models work differently. They are not designed to be AI that just predicts the next word. What these do is they search a database using not large language models, not using GPT technology, using a search technology that returns likely results, and then crafts an answer using those results, these actual legal precedents. So they're designed not to hallucinate. These legal specific models are designed to be a truth engine, which makes them very good for research in ways that the general tools like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude from Anthropic are not. Let me be more specific. So I'm going to show you a few things from vLex. I'm not trying to sell you vLex. I just want to make sure we're talking about very practical examples. You'll have to excuse my terrible Spanish. I speak just a little. But so I'm doing research questions in Mexico in vLex. vLex covers a large part of Latin America, Europe, and the United States. But so if I ask this question in Vincent AI in the research section, this is the way that Vincent answers the question. On the right-hand side, you see judicial opinions and statutes and treatises, books that discuss the issue. These are pulled from a database. These are not averages. They can't be hallucinated. They are all hyperlinked. If I click on any of them, I can open them. And I think this is not unique to Vincent. I think CoCounsel and Lexis Plus AI work in a similar way. But the idea is that transparency is important. We need to be able to see what the ingredients of the answer are. And for each one, you see the hyperlink, you see the source, you see a summary of what the authority is about, and then a direct quote from the authority. These quotes are not generated by AI. They are taken directly from the document. And then each one has a confidence score to say how confident we are that this authority answers the question. And then we pass this along with protections to a large language model. It is completely confidential. It's never used to train a model. All of the questions and answers stay within this research session. And we answer the question, again, with hyperlinks. So for any one of these, if I click the hyperlink, I can see the underlying authority and I can read it in context. This is very important. You can see I'm doing this in Spanish. I could do it in English or French or Portuguese. This is a multilingual database. So if I ask the same question in Portuguese, I'll get, in this case, if I'm searching Brazil, I'll get Brazilian authorities, and I'll get an answer in Portuguese referencing the law of Brazil. This is one of, 22 different tools in vLex. I'll just show one other as a practical matter. So if I take a complaint for a lawsuit in Mexico and I drag it into Vincent AI, there's a skill called Analyze a Claim. And you can see Vincent immediately recognizes the PDF image. It sees what this is. This is a complaint, demanding damages against the Mexican government in this case. And Vincent suggests a bunch of different things that a lawyer might do with a document of this kind. This is not hard-coded. This is different for every different kind of document. And you can see at the bottom, some of these suggestions are driven from the content of this actual complaint, this specific complaint. But if I say, for example, suggest defenses to this, Vincent will ask, who do you represent? What party do you represent? The defenses will be different for each party. And then we'll go through and we'll say, here is the claim, the cause of action, and here are the different defenses that are available for it. And it will actually go into the complaint itself and try to find different facts, even from the complaint, that will help make the defense. And then for each one of them, they are hyperlinked to the part of the complaint. I'm not trying to sell you Vincent AI. I'm just trying to show in a very practical way what these tools are and what they can do. Sometimes I worry that we imagine AI as like, some magical lawyer brain or robot lawyer or something. I don't think that's very helpful. So I like to talk about the individual skills. This AI is something sort of beyond language in a way, which allows us to do this for many countries. I've shown already Brazil and Mexico. In the Latin American database, we have in Vincent AI already, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, and Peru. But that is a subset of the 17 different jurisdictions that are available around the world, with more coming all the time. So on the one hand, this is great because we are allowed to do this work that lawyers do much faster. But many of you may already be saying, wait a minute, faster? I get paid for this time. I bill for this time. I bill by the hour. Do I really want, to do this work faster? Won't I lose a lot of money? And I think that is a very natural question. How do we make money when the hours that did our work become minutes doing the work? How do we make money on fewer billable hours? But I might modify this a little bit to say, how do we make profits on fewer billable hours? I think many times in our profession, we think about the top line, the revenue of legal work, and we don't think about the bottom line, the profitability of legal work. So here's an example. If we take just one matter, right? And I'm doing this in a very simple way. But in this matter, if we imagine that, we have 2.5 partner hours and 17 associate hours, and these are billed according to this, in many cases, law firms will write off a lot of the time. Clients don't want to pay for a lot of research or administrative time. And so the ultimate bill ends up being maybe 24,000 pesos, right? And so that's the top line, and you might say that's great. But if you look at the total profitability, if you subtract out the costs here, then you may end up with a very small profit on the matter. And you'll have many matters in a month, of course, and many matters in a year. But the profit per hour worked by the firm is quite small, 167 pesos in this example. Note here, I'm using no software. This is just a conventional paper and hours profit and loss statement for a matter. Now imagine that we're using artificial intelligence. This might work completely differently. So I'm saying, imagine we spend 2,000 pesos on artificial intelligence software, and we just bill it to this matter. So maybe this is a monthly cost or something. This is just an example, okay? But so if we pay for software, then the associate hours might go from 17 to 4, right? And so the total amount that we're billing is less. We go from 24,000 pesos to 20,500. And I think many in the law firm world might say, oh no, we've just lost 3,500 pesos. But that's not the important thing. If you're looking only at the revenue, that would be the only important thing. But we are looking at the profitability. So now the partner cost is lower, or it's the same, I suppose. The associate cost is much lower, and the cost of software is what it is. But now we don't have to write off any time. Now we are running this matter very efficiently and quickly. We're turning it around faster for a client. And so the profit on the matter is much higher, almost 3 times as high as without software. And the profit per hour is 10 times what it was, right? Or maybe 8 times. I can't do the math very quickly, maybe 9 times as much. Imagine you could make 9 times as much profit on every hour worked by lawyers in the firm. Which of these businesses is stronger? This one making more revenue, but clearing very little money, spending a lot of money in the process. Or this firm completing the work faster at a lower cost for the client and at higher profitability. I think it's very clearly the second. And now, of course, that's a smaller number of hours. What do we do with the other hours? And there are lots of good answers for this. I mean, one of them is to use the hours to bill for other matters. I've talked to a lot of large law firms and I ask them, how do you know how much money you'll make in a year? And they say, well, it's very simple. We take the number of people in the firm and multiply it times their average billable rate, and that's how much money we'll make. I say, but how do you know there'll be enough client work to fill those hours? And they say, oh, there's more client work than we can take. So if you can refill those hours, I recognize this is a question, but if you can refill those hours with other work, then you have a lot of work that is more profitable and you'll be making a lot more money in profits. Another option here is don't bill fewer hours. I talk to a lot of lawyers and ask them at the end of a matter, how do you feel about it? And they will say something like, I feel good about the work that we did. If I had more time, I would have liked to explore this idea. I would have liked to interview another witness. I would like to make one more argument. And so the idea is AI in this case might allow you to do the first 50% of the work, 60% of the work in the first couple of days, freeing you up to do better work in the same amount of time. So maybe the firm bills the same number of hours, but the work is much better. Maybe you don't have to ask the judge for an extension and you continually press the other side to go faster and faster to your client's advantage. Another item that is gaining some popularity in the US is fixed fees or flat fees. I don't think this is great for every practice or every law firm, but there are places where firms know how much something costs. And when they do, they can make that a fixed fee, maybe not at 100% of the average cost. They might even be able to charge more. They might be able to say, we'll charge 110%, 115% of the average, but the client has no ability. They understand how much it's going to cost at the beginning of the matter. The firm bears the risk for extra time, but because of the way it's priced, even if they lose money on a small number of them, they will make money on a much larger number of them. And so these fixed fees can be a real lever for profitability. Last, I mean, what if the hours still decrease? What can we do? I think the answer here is it is an invitation to us to change the way we deliver legal services. So we might create new legal services for our existing clients. Imagine surveys of the law of other countries, looking for problems before they arise. Things that might be expensive today that we can do less expensively with AI. Imagine when you're going through document diligence, when you're reviewing documents in a matter, if you could also evaluate for other legal risks and charge that as a separate product, and then say, we will help you deal with these risks that we discovered in a completely different matter. But so the idea is that we can do different work for our current clients. Another idea is to reach other clients, to use these AI tools to create new products that expand access to justice. So there are very good ways to use AI to make your law firm a stronger business, a broader business, a more profitable business. But the last thing I'll say here is that we also have to consider the costs if we don't innovate, the cost if we do not incorporate AI into our business, if we don't create these new legal services. And here, I want to tell a story. It's one of my favorite stories about the hidden costs of not innovating. It is the story of Blockbuster. So for about 20 years, Blockbuster was one of the biggest companies in the world. Before Blockbuster, if you wanted to watch a movie, of course, you either saw it in a theater or you would wait several years, and occasionally it would show up on television. But with Blockbuster, you could walk into a neighborhood store, you could pick a cassette and rent it for a few days and watch it whenever you want. It wasn't perfect, but it was a very good way to watch movies if you didn't want to go to the theater, if you didn't want to wait for it to come on television. But it had problems. There was a limited selection of movies. You could only rent if the cassette was in the store. The older among you may remember going to a Blockbuster looking for one movie and not finding it, and then renting another movie that wasn't as good. You had to bring it back by a certain time. And if you didn't, you would pay late fees. And the late fees were substantial. You were requested to rewind the tape at the end. And if you didn't do this, there were very big fees. And Blockbuster made a lot of money from these fees. Nevertheless, it was a giant business. It had about 6 billion US dollars of revenue. It had 9,000 stores, more than Starbucks. It had 60,000 employees. At its peak, Blockbuster was so big, one year it charged more than $800 million, 800 million US dollars in late fees alone. People hated the late fees. And it wasn't the amount of the late fees, it was just the inconvenience. And this became a particular problem for Blockbuster one day when they charged a $40 late fee, which was more expensive than buying the movie, to a gentleman named Reed Hastings. And Reed Hastings said, "This is outrageous. I hate Blockbuster. I hate returning the cassette. I hate never finding the movie in the store. This is a broken model for the delivery of movies. And so I am going to change it." And Reed Hastings, in response, founded Netflix. His startup, as you can see here, was a DVD by mail startup. And the model was pretty simple. You subscribed, you pay a monthly fee, and then you would tell Netflix what movie you want, usually 2 at a time. It would send them to you in the mail, and you would watch it whenever you want. If you held it for a year, it didn't matter. There were no late fees ever. And when you were done, you would put it in a prepaid envelope and send it back to Netflix, and they would send you the next DVD in your list. So no movie was ever out of stock. There was no rewinding. There was never any late fees. It was a great service, but it was tiny and it was unprofitable, and Netflix was losing a lot of money. They needed a partner. This is what Netflix looked like in 2000. And they decided they wanted as a partner Blockbuster, one of the biggest companies in the world. And their approach to Blockbuster was, your model for delivering movies is broken. We have created a better model. It's better and more popular with consumers. And so you should buy Netflix. And this will be a change to your business model. Not all of your business model. You don't have to close the stores, but we will be the DVD by mail front end of these Blockbuster stores. And yes, you might make a little bit less money in your stores, but you'll make a lot more money in this new market that is coming up. This is an innovation and a disruption that you should take advantage of. And so in 2000, Blockbuster invited the Netflix team to their headquarters in Dallas. They had an entire office building. The Netflix crew was pretty casual, as you can see here. The Blockbuster team was very suit and tie, drunk on their own success. And they said, okay, Netflix, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, the two founders, if we agreed to buy the business, how much should we pay for it? And Netflix hadn't really thought of a number. They sort of stammered out $50 million US. And by all accounts, the room erupted in laughter. The Blockbuster team laughed uproariously. They could not stop laughing, and they threw the Netflix guys out. They said it will never work. And Mark Randolph, the co-founder of Netflix, said, that's when we decided to destroy Blockbuster. And by now, you know how the story ends. Ultimately, Netflix did take off. It did destroy Blockbuster. I think they, in the last year, Blockbuster closed its last remaining physical store. The DVD by mail model was much more popular with consumers, and it was a big success story. But in this time when Netflix is growing so well and doing great, there was an entrepreneur who wanted to kill this very successful startup, who wanted to kill Netflix. And that entrepreneur was Reed Hastings. Because Reed Hastings could see, even inside of Netflix, that another change was coming. The internet in 2000, you may remember, was very slow. But as we got into 2005 and 2006, broadband became very much more accessible around the world. People could get faster connections to the internet. And he could see a time coming. Maybe it didn't exist at the outset, but he could see the time coming when people would stream movies directly to their houses in real time. No DVD necessary. Now, here's a challenge. You know, Netflix had disrupted Blockbuster. Would it disrupt itself, its own business, on a theoretical new business model? Well, I mean, by now we all know that it did. That's exactly what it did. It invented streaming video, and it was ridiculed at the time that it did it because it was disturbing a very good, very profitable, very fast-growing DVD by mail business. And yet, it was obviously in hindsight, it was the perfect idea. And we can see now, you know, Netflix is a huge company. It has a market cap of almost 200 billion with a B US dollars, not 50 million US dollars. I want to take a few lessons from this. All right, so 3 lessons. The first, innovation shows us broader horizons. So at the time in 2000, when Blockbuster considered acquiring Netflix, it was a big company, $6 billion in revenue, 9,000 stores, 60,000 employees. But Netflix wasn't trying to be like a lower cost version of Blockbuster. Netflix saw a wider market, right? Today, Netflix is a $32 billion business with 0 stores. And this kind of looks like the 3 horizons model from Bill Sharp. If you look at the first horizon, this is kind of the rise and fall of brick and mortar stores. And then when you have this kind of adoption of the World Wide Web, when people can go to a website and pick their movies and make a list of them, Netflix became a more popular way of distributing those movies. And if you look, the Netflix version was even more profitable, made more money than that first horizon. But that also was designed to taper off as well. And when you have broadband adoption, that flashpoint creates a third horizon for the streaming version of Netflix over time. Maybe this is an obvious parallel, but this is exactly what we're going through with legal services right now. I'm picking Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird as my first horizon lawyer, but the one-on-one billable hour lawyer will taper off. And you already see this beginning to happen. For Zoom lawyering, remote lawyering, lawyering at scale. But AI presents an even larger horizon and a bigger market. The market for legal services in the US is targeted maybe $473 billion US dollars per year, but we're serving like 20% of people with legal needs. The latent market, the market that we can't reach, is likely much larger than that. It's probably $1 trillion market for the 80% of people who are currently unserved. Lesson 2 is we should be thinking in an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. In 2000, movies were scarce, but they weren't really scarce. It was VHS cassettes that were scarce. There were lots of movies in the world, but the choke point in distributing them to people was Blockbuster, which meant fewer people could view them and made for a smaller market. When Netflix came along, they broke through that bottleneck, creating a much larger market and reaching the latent market for movie services. Today, legal advice is scarce. We're only giving help to like 20% of people who need it. But really, again, it's lawyers' time. It's hours that are scarce. And so maybe the metaphor is very similar. This kind of billable hour means that we can only reach a small part of the market. But if we can break through that bottleneck with AI, we may be able to reach a much bigger market. Finally, this market is ripe for disruption. The legal services market has to change. I think like Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, we can see that this market is going to change. And the question is, will we be the ones to disrupt it? Or will there be an outside force that does it for us? It involves risk. We might not have to change our business model for every matter or for every hour, but we need to start experimenting right now. AI will be one of these inflection points, right? So I like this quote by John Shedd: "A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for." I don't think this is a perfect translation of that. But I think Mark Randolph of Netflix said this just as well. If you are unwilling to disrupt yourself, there will always be someone willing to disrupt your business for you. And I'm very excited to have a debate and a conversation about these topics with the team. Fernando, you are muted, I think.
Thank you very much, Ed, for your presentation. I think that you gave us a very interesting overview on artificial intelligence and some tools that can be used and the benefit of using artificial intelligence. There has been a good number of questions already in the chat about the the use of artificial intelligence, how we make the best use if you are working on different legal systems. Pepe Torrello already responded some of them, but now what I want is to invite the panelists to give their remarks on the different subjects that you raised. I think that also was very interesting, the example that you took, Blockbuster, because all of us, I would say, are witnesses of the success of Blockbuster and the failure of Blockbuster. And I think that it's not the only company that had the same, I would say, story, the same failure. I can remember when all of us, and especially lawyers, we had the BlackBerry in our hands. It was the best tool to communicate. And if you read the articles and books about the story of BlackBerry and how the leadership just refused to embrace the changes that they were facing, it's quite interesting. And that's why what we were mentioning at the beginning of the debate is the need that the legal sector has to change their attitude, their chip to embrace artificial intelligence, the innovation, the way thinking in order to, as you were mentioning, some of the slides that you presented. So I would like to start now with Sara. I will invite Sara to give her remarks, especially because Sara is a partner at a very well law firm in Spain, and she's a specialist on innovation and transformation. And I would say that her firm is one of the firms that have embraced I would say, the change. So, Sara, welcome with your remarks. I remind all of you that you have 5 minutes to give your remarks, okay?
Thank you. Congrats, Ed. I think it was very interesting, your presentation, and thank you, Fernando. I think that I'm not a specialist, because to be expertise today in transformation or innovation, I think is very, because all the things are changing all the time. But I would like to remark some ideas that I take in the presentation. First of all, I was thinking like clients don't buy hours, they buy outcomes. And with this phrase, I would like to say, okay, you can use your outcomes can be using making things with AI, changing your knowledge, adapting all the things that you do, and not all the firms have this knowledge management fee very, very, very well. And I think that this is a good point. And also when you think, okay, what I'm going to do with my time, I think that you, like a lawyers, the most important thing is not our hours, is our expertise. And the thing is to reallocate talent to premium work. Because normal, we think, okay, what are the people are going to learn if the artificial intelligence do all the things? But I think that there are new tasks, new competitions, the use of creativity and other things that they have a lot of time to do without artificial intelligence. And in our case, we embraced AI science 2 years in our firm. I just arrived like 1 month or something like that, and it's not my goal. it's of all the team. But I think that we have to think in the artificial intelligence from the efficiency to a strategic impact. It's not only to be more to have more productivity, it's also to have a strategic impact in our clients, because our clients are using artificial intelligence. And if you want to increase your law firm, you have to do that. And I think one of the main skills are going to be to know not only prompt engineering, but I think it's a new legal superpower, you know, because we have to learn how can we do with, for example, Vincent or whatever tool that we are using, because it's not only the tool, it's the lawyer, is the logic of the lawyer that is going to do. And to finish my reflection, I think we have to design by default all these tools, all these use cases, thinking about with all your team, not only in the CEO head. You have to be with your team and think, okay, what is the operation of this use case? How can we use artificial intelligence, and go on? And this is all, sorry, because I want to hear the other panelists.
Thank you very much, Sara. Good remarks, and I will come back to you after we heard, as you said, the rest of the panelists. So, Denise, you have a quite interesting experience as well, because you are the general counsel at KMPG in Mexico, but you have a very wide experience and also very much involved in the transformation, not just about legal services within a particular law firm or service provider, but also within legal departments. The embrace of legal departments of all the changes that they have been embracing through legal operations, and the new role of legal departments nowadays. So welcome your remarks.
Thank you, Fernando, and thank you, Ed, and for sure, Sara, Andrés, Pepe, and Fernando for sharing this space to share our ideas and our points of view. So as you were saying, Fernando, I have been general counsel for almost 30 years. So as a general counsel, I also was part of an internal law firm. And I can tell you that law firms for sure can use the AI to be an enabler, to be an empower of the skills of a human. I could tell you about 4 words that I like about the use of AI, which is enabling, empowering, leveraging, and upscaling. So if you think that humans are going to disappear in this process and that lawyers are going to disappear, no, that is not what is going to happen. But they for sure are going to use these specific 4 powers to bring to life more quality work for the clients. And for sure, me as an internal counsel, and also KPMG delivers legal services as well, we are for sure learning a lot of the use of AI and new technologies and innovating. So I can tell you that just last week I was in our home, which is Lake House, and John Brill, which is a very good speaker, and he is a futurist. He was talking about the future and the next 5 years, and he was saying that economic, social, political, and geopolitical landscape are going to shape the new future, and that we have to take meaningful action. So for sure, he was talking about riding the wave, because he has a very good book called Rogue Waves that I recommend a lot. And I can tell you that he was talking about riding the wave. It's like, if you don't get into the wave and then you surf it, then you will get killed by the wave. So I like the theme of our panel, which is AI or die, because you have really to jump into the wave and go on and swim it, no? So I can tell you that for sure there's a lot of benefits. For example, we can talk about time-based versus values-based. So as Sara was saying, we are looking for our external counsel to be values-based. Also, the process can be improved versus doing new things, no? So if, for example, we can get the processes into an automated form, we can take that time, as Ed was saying, to build new things and continue to innovate and continue to give this specific service that lawyers can give from a personal human standpoint. Also, I think that we all have to understand that uncertainty is a new reality. So we have to be adaptable. We have to use adaptability as our tool, and agility will be the outcome if we are an adaptable person, for sure. No? So I'm sure that all of you know about very, very relevant legal providers or tech providers, such as the ones that are here with me in the panel, that can be your resources. And as Ed was saying, it's not that we're selling, and for sure, I am not a seller of any service, especially not from my firm and not others, but I can tell you that there are very good providers. I met Pepe, in fact, in one of the beauty contests that I made at some point several years ago. So I was trying to innovate when I was in another company. So I can tell you that I'm on top of innovation and on top of using this technology as an internal counsel, no? So for sure, it's about, also human, the key here thing is also about human interaction with these technologies. For sure, you have to be very, very aware that, as Ed was saying, you have sometimes duplicate precedents or insufficient data, unverified sources, or lack of context or lack of information. So this can lead to chaos. So that's why humans have to be, on top of these specific technologies to be, making all these audits and oversighting all of these processes. So it's not that we are going to disappear. Don't worry, all of the lawyers that are hearing us here. It's not that we are going to disappear. But for sure, this technology is going to help us, for example, digitalize, do repetitive work, innovate, and for sure filter and give us recommendations, but with these final human oversights. So I want to end in a tone with a very good friend of mine, Orestes Valderas, who for sure helped me with this discussion he's a security expert. And we were talking about what is the key things that we should be aware of as lawyers. So for sure, we have to give a very tough thought in our companies, the ones that are using internal tools as internal counsel or external counsel that are using these tools, that we have to be very, very, aware that we have to do a governance for sure. Second, perform audits. It's relevant that we do these audits to identify biases or errors in the data. No? Also, cybersecurity and information technologies is important. So they are the gatekeepers of all of these process. It's important to take care, as Ed was saying, for privacy. We have to take care of privacy most of all, and especially in industries that use a lot of personal identifiable information. So we have to do risk assessments on this regard. Another one is trainings on the use of AI. It's relevant to do this and also do a risk assessment as well, and also tell the employees on how to use it and how not to use it, because it is relevant that we have to be also very aware of the use or not of AI in some cases. And finally, I think that it's important to watch out for hallucinations, and we have to train the databases. That's the only way. As a final remark, responsibility and accountability of all of us and compliance with laws and regulations. We have to be the trusted advisors, if you are external counsels, but also as internal counsel, we have to be the trusted advisors. So we are going to be differentiated with ethics, transparency, and trust. That's the only way. And a final note on this regard is, think before using AI. I just ask you because I'm really on also about environmental, and I know that AI is an amazing tool, but also it is a lot of use of natural resources. So think before using AI. Before it was think before printing. Now it is think before AI. It is great. It is a great tool, but of course we have to be transparent with our clients and being ethical also in the use of and responsible for the use of AI is also very important. So don't worry, the skills of all of us lawyers about quality, human touch, interaction, interpersonal interaction is going to be our key things that are not going to be, used by AI. So we can continue being the leaders of this world. And I don't think that we're going to be conquered by machines still. So let's see in a few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Denise. In your remarks, you cover, I would say, a wide number of important issues and the impact of artificial intelligence, not just on the service provider as a law firm, but also as a service provider within a law department. Because nowadays, I think there is no doubt that law firms have one more competitor, which are the legal departments. Nowadays, legal departments are more and more practicing law, and firms must be aware that they are investing not just in talent, but investing in technology, are innovating in order to transform themselves within the company. So thank you very much for your remarks. And now I would like to invite Andrés to give us his remarks. Andrés, I would say, was one of the first lawyers, the first lawyer that moved forward and organized the first alternative legal service provider in Chile. His firm was formed, if I'm not wrong, over 10 years ago, and has been developing and following innovation and implementation of technology. So Andrés, we would love to hear your comments as one of the first, I would say, entrepreneurs in thinking out of the box.
Thanks, Fernando, for the introduction and great interventions from Ed, Denise, and Sara, and certainly looking forward to hear Pepe too. I believe, a lot has been said, and if I would say two main remarks that may, I believe, still be pending on the discussion are related with what is really happening today. I mean, for what are we using this kind of tools? And secondly, which is the most important question, I believe, is do we have the skill sets that we are requiring lawyers to have to really perform well using this kind of tools? Because there is a lot of talks and a lot of has been written about the being agile or having the skill sets, being flexible, about the kind of I don't know, knowledge we need to have, how we manage processes, if we know about design, if we know about project management, and so many are kind of topics. But you usually see and forget that lawyers are not trained that well on those specific topics. So a lot of lawyers usually hear about this as a kind of fear of missing out or momentum ideal. But at the same time, we have a big gap on the skills that lawyers have been trained with to face this kind of challenges, right? So for me, one big concern is education and how we are providing lawyers with the proper tools to perform well in this new environment. Certainly, it's true. I mean, it's an uncertain environment. It's true. It's driven by AI discussions and this kind of webinars and panels, but still, the problem is that usually we can talk a lot, we can read a lot about it, but we usually don't know how to proceed when we face this kind of challenges, and how we are basically developing or skill set or tool set to perform well during this environment. So that's a big question mark. I believe that there is no current solution on that. However, certainly these conversations enable at least those question marks also at the educational level or academic level. And I believe that that's a place where we need to spend quite a lot of time working with and certainly providing more support. And the other remark that I wanted to share with you is how practical this is. I mean, we need to be pragmatic, right? So basically, as you mentioned before, Fernando, we are an ALSP, so an alternative legal service provider. Many companies today don't like to refer themselves as alternative, but still we are providing service in some space in the market and the offering of services, right? So what are the kind of things that we see and we use today with AI? And I believe that that's also useful for the audience. The kind of places where we are using this kind of tools are mainly document review, benchmarking contracts, again, for example, playbooks or negotiation playbooks, redlining and marking up documents in a much faster way than we did in the past, resuming a lot of information or gathering key words or key paragraph, key specific legal references to help repapering processes and how to basically update documents against, for example, regulation updates or eventually other kind of constraints when you are facing, for example, an M&A process, a due diligence process, a big litigation process, and things like that, right? So a lot of research, a lot of discovery, a lot of repapering and redrafting documents, and those are the common places where we see today the use of AI. Actually, from a specific perspective, as an ALSP, we are using tools today for doing that, right? So I was a couple of actually one or 2 weeks ago at Clock in the Corporate Legal Operations Consortium conference in Las Vegas. And Pepe was there too, and actually a common discussion among basically the audience and all the tracks and educational tracks. It's about, well, what is really happening today? Is this kind of tools just a great, I don't know, pitch, or we are really using them to fast forward or work and enhance our capabilities? And the reality is, yes, we are doing that on that level. The next level will be on agentic AI, right? So basically giving lawyers more access to specific agents that will perform by their own certain type of work. I believe that that's the next stage, where you are not just using the tool as basically a help for your current work, but rather you are trying to move forward and say, okay, tool, do this work by your own. Give me the feedback or the output once you end up doing that specific work, right? So much more autonomous interactions without much prompting at the beginning of the interaction. And that will impact the model that would impact the leverage of the traditional like pyramid in the traditional law firm model, and that will certainly impact the kind of work we are doing and where we can add value. So those specific 2 remarks. I know that we are running out of time, so happy to share that with you guys.
Thank you very much, Andres. Both are quite relevant remarks. And I think that the first one is by all means extremely important, which is how do you train and form young lawyers in order to face all these particular changes, because it is clear for all of us that at law faculties, they do not teach these subjects, these matters, and there is a need. And up to some extent, I would say that the responsibility is transferred to the organizations, whether a law firm or a corporation, in order to be aware that they have to train their talent in order to face the new challenges. So I think that both remarks were very important, but I wanted to emphasize this particular remark. And well, now we have Pepe, but before inviting Pepe to give his remarks, there has been a lot of questions in the chat, and a lot of questions are related to questions. Recommend me which is the best tool. Recommend me what is the best way I can achieve these. Pepe has been kind enough to respond some of them, but what I want to say, based on my experience, there is no one tool that fits all, okay? And also, I think it is extremely important that the tool that is used, and I'm going to say very blunt, by your competitor, not necessarily is the tool that you need, okay? Nowadays, law firms, no matter the size of the law firm, have the opportunity to have access to information, to advice, in order to determine what is the best tool depending on the needs of the law firm, okay? There were other remarks saying the problem is that artificial intelligence tools are extremely expensive. Well, all depends. I mean, all depends on your needs. All depends what you want to implement. You cannot implement everything at the same time. You have to start, once again, despite the size of your firm, in working on a strategy for innovation and transformation, and define which are the steps that you have to follow. So, and also, I want to say that this particular debate or any of the programs that we organize are not necessarily to recommend which is the tool that you have to use, okay? Because once again, the tool that you need is not necessarily the tool that your competitor is using or the tool that others are using. I finish my remark with this, is when a firm wants to implement the same compensation plan as their competitors because they are very successful. I mean, I have always said that there are as many of compensation plans as law firms in the world, okay? Because you have to take into account the culture, the needs, and many other factors in order to define a compensation plan. And it's the same in order to implement innovation and technology. You have to start from understanding which are your needs, which is your target market, what you want to achieve, and how much do you want to invest, and then to start working towards that particular route. So, Pepe, more than welcome.
I think there's a lot of being said already. I would say that like there's no single tool that is going to work for everything. I think the first thing, and one of the main mistakes that a lot of companies are doing, not just law firms, but even companies, is that they want to jump directly to technology without learning their processes and their main pain points, right? It's like I've been working in this market since long time ago, and I already have developed this kind of, I know when a customer has no idea what they want. And you can know that exactly when they're like, in the RFP processes, when they're looking for a specific kind of software. And when one of the questions in the RFPs, do you have AI? That's automatically like, okay, so these guys have no idea what they want, right? Because it's not just like a magic wand and you just click one button and it will get you a contract, right? Let me try to answer this with one of the first questions. I can't remember who wrote that one, but this person was asking what was the best tool for drafting contracts. So you gotta learn that a contract is not just a document that you draft and then you just sign. There's a whole process behind it, right? If you're on the in-house team, you have a long process. The pre-signature, which is the contract request, you receive the contract request, you go to negotiation process, you got into the approval process. Once everything has been approved, then you sign a contract. That's just the pre-signature. Now, the post-signature is when the document, when that contract is alive, when it's active, and that's when the real terms and obligations that you are bound because of you signed that contract are are real now, and you got to find a way on how to manage all those obligations so you can avoid fines, and how you can use that information inside the contracts to help the business team to make better business decisions. So one of the things that you have also to think about is that these tools are not just for the legal department. If you're talking for an in-house team, usually they're like enterprise softwares. Why would you want to have a lower turnover time to deliver a contract? That's because the procurement wants to start working with their vendors, or it's because the sales team want to close the business and receive the money. You got to think about on the business, because if you only think about the legal side of the process, that's why not every company, but most of the companies think about the legal team as just as a cost center, because it doesn't bring any cash to the company. So we have to think about that, and that's one of the main things about CLOC, this association that I represent in Mexico, and it's really good just to think about the business side on the legal business. I mean, I've repeated business too much, but what I mean to say is that you gotta think about the business requirements. What are the pain points? And once you understand that, and the specific industries of your customers, if you're thinking as a law firm, then you will know which are those bottlenecks where you need the assistance of technology, right? So let me go back again. It's not just one click and it will give you my contracts. I send it to my customers and then we sign it. It's a whole process. Why you want to have contracts with a lower turnaround rate? Why do you think the legal team needs to deliver that? It's not just a SLA with any of their internal customers. It's because it's a business, and one of the best ways to calculate ROI is, of course, time is one of those, but one of the real need for any type of company is because they want to earn more money, they want to save time, or they want to save on costs. That's the three main reasons. So you got to think about, just like, try to don't think like a lawyer, like a risk manager, but think about on the business side, right? Because if you don't understand that, it's gonna be really hard to you to explain to your customers that they need to invest $50,000 for a specific just implementation for a software. Because if they ask you why do you want it, and it's because you want your lawyers to work faster so they can go to home sooner than 10 p.m. like we always do, they'll be like, why would I care? They're my employees, they're my lawyers. They work hard, right? So that would be my my 2 cents on this. Just like think about the business, try to find those bottlenecks and the real pain points. And once you have that, then you can start looking for specific AI tools. I mean, I love Vincent. That's really cool when you want to save time doing a lot of research. Where you can upload documents and it will give you the legal grounds. You usually take a lot of times to paralegals. And but you got to think about like why you want that, right? And then you will be able to create those ROIs and make a business case either in your company or in your law firm.
Thank you very much, Pepe. I think that based on your remark, it's clear the importance of the purpose and the why, okay? Yep. And without missing the point that this is to improve your business, okay? And I think that all your points were very, very valid. We are running out of time, but before we finish, I wanted to read a post that was published last week that fits, in my opinion, pretty well on the subject of our debate and all what we have been discussing. It was published by Victor von Essen, and I think it talks about the horizon on legal services. His post reads as follows: what happens when you build a law firm from the ground up around artificial intelligence? No office, no associates, no billable hours. Just an artificial intelligence native infrastructure, handling legal work efficiently, scalably, and around the clock. The real opportunity isn't just faster legal horsepower. It is building a completely new vehicle. Henry Ford didn't invent a faster horse. He reinvented the system. In the context of legal artificial intelligence, it means not merely improving existing workflows by 20%, but rethinking the entire business model from scratch. A new kind of law firm is emerging. Not just artificial intelligence tools for traditional firms, but fully artificial intelligence native law firms. Artificial intelligence handles core legal functions. Processes aren't merely digitalized, but are built artificial intelligence first. Human lawyers focus on strategy, ethics, oversight, and clients' relationships, not repetitive ground work. Victor von Essen believes that most impactful legal artificial intelligence innovations is in the coming years won't be tools for law firms. They will be entirely new law firms built around these tools. The first signals are already here. Powerful artificial intelligence is a leading by example. No partners, no associates, just artificial intelligence helping the small business recover unpaid invoices up to 10,000 sterling pounds through the English Small Claims Court. It is fast, affordable, and according to the regulatory authority in the UK, fully compliant. What do you think? It is exciting or it is frightening? So this is, I would say, more than the future. We have in front of us an important change. It is happening. And we have to accept that it is happening. It is also important that we are not going to change everything overnight, but you have to start working on the change. And since we run out of time, I would like to invite each one of our panelists and Ed to give us a 1-minute remark on your conclusions on what we discussed today. So let's start with Andrés.
Thank you for that. I have just one word actually that describes pretty well, I believe, my invitation to the audience, which is be brave. Basically, to explore, to face new roads, or eventually to conquer new countries, you need to be brave, right? So I encourage people to be brave and take the lead. And take the decision to try, to explore, to do have mistakes. I know that lawyers are risk averse. However, we need to be certainly taking risks if we want to get into the flow and do or generate the impact that a Gen AI really promises to be able to generate. That's it.
Denise, welcome with your final remarks.
I was thinking while Andres was speaking, I think that my final remark is be a leader, not a follower. I think that that is something that I would, suggest. Again, I think that these tools are enablers, empowers, leveraging, and they are upscaling our human skills. So be a leader and not a follower. I think that leaders are the ones who are more bold and brave. So again, and I will rephrase Andres, let's be brave and let's be a leader.
Thank you very much. Sara, it's your turn.
Yes, I think that I think the same Andres and Lara, but probably because I think that those who dare to reimagine the legal function with AI today, like all the people that we are talking today here, are the one with shaping the future of justice tomorrow. We need to work right now because we have problems that we can solve with AI right now, and think how can we be the next years.
Thank you very much. Pepe.
Soft skills are very important, I would say, and that's the main reason why lawyers are not going to be, our job is not going to be taken over by AI. A lot of the times, customers will hire you because they like you better than the legendary lawyer from Chambers and Partner. They like you better. And I think AI is not going to take over everything. And one thing that I remember that a really good friend told me is like, okay, if you want to use AI for everything, good luck negotiating with a líder sindical or a leader at a union. Then we'll see if it actually works. So soft skills, people.
Thank you. I invite all of you to respond to the survey that we have just published. And before inviting Ed with his final remarks, I want to thank all of you because we have over 500 attendees during this debate. So this demonstrates the interest of this subject. This demonstrates that the legal profession wants to understand and wants to learn more about the impact of technology and artificial intelligence in our practices. So Ed, welcome with your final remarks.
First, thank you very much for the honor. I'm very grateful that you invited me to be a part of such an important conversation. And I've really enjoyed all of the remarks of the participants in today's panel. Some people think about legal services as an event, but as Pepe was just saying, it's probably better to think of them like a chain. And we might use AI to replace individual links in that chain, maybe the dullest or most complex tasks in that legal chain, but it doesn't replace the whole chain. And it's very important that the last links in that chain should always involve human judgment. AI creates first drafts, not last drafts. And it is the human judgment saying, now that we understand what the law is, here's what we do about it. That is the essence of lawyering. Those last links in the chain are the reasons people went to law school in the first place. What is a video store for? Is it for maintaining VHS cartridges? Is it for standing up late fees? Well, the internet and Netflix invited us to think of video stores and video rentals as really being about the magic of movies. That is what the stores were to consumers. What's a law firm for? Is it for billable hours? Is it for training young associates? Certainly those things happen there, but think about it from the consumer's point of view, the client. Law firms exist to administer justice, and AI, just like the internet, invites us to reimagine what the delivery of justice should look like. Justice might be an incidental artifact and a byproduct of billable hours and fancy offices. But this revolution invites us to rethink the delivery of legal services and orient it not towards hours or papers, but towards justice for more people to create a society that is more human and more just.
Thank you very much, Ed. Well, just to close, as it was said during the discussion, artificial intelligence is not going to replace lawyers, but is going to complement lawyers. As Ed just said, it will allow lawyers to concentrate on more important issues than tasks related to the day-to-day. It will permit to assist much better their clients, to understand the needs of the client. Someone was asking if there was a tool that could assist to understand the client's need. No one is going to replace the judgment of a lawyer. No machine is going to replace you, and no machine is going to sit and discuss with your client the needs that they have. That's your role, okay? That's your role as a lawyer. So I invite all of you to continue reading about the impact of technology and artificial intelligence in the legal sector. Nowadays, we're extremely lucky. We have a lot of information in the web. We have a lot of authors sharing their opinions, their research, their books, and I think it is a must for all of us to continue understanding in order to adjust ourselves to the new needs of the legal sector. So thank you very much to all of you, Denise, Sara, Andrés, Pepe, and especially to you, Ed. Thank you very much. It has been a very successful debate. Thank to all of you. See you next.
Thank you.
Hello.
Bye. Bye.